Hello, my name is Andy and I am the Village Idiot. I'm armed with a car and a GoPro and an unhealthy amount of time on my hands. I'm using that time to attempt to visit every civil parish in England. You're watching the East Riding of Yorkshire series. Together with the unparished city of Hull, it forms the county of the same name. There's 172 parishes here. Which one are we in today? Welcome back to the East Riding of Yorkshire once again, people, and to a place which I know a lot of people have been asking, when are you covering this? When are you covering this? And the reason it's been like that is because this place is one of the jewels in the East Riding crown. Trust me, this has some of the best landmarks and some of the best features you've ever seen in this county. Welcome to the parish of Sledmere. Here's my disclaimer for people who may be watching me for the first time. I say things as I would in my native accent and dialect. As a result, I may not pronounce things in the same way as the locals do. Remember, I'm a visitor. It's impossible to know everything. Leave me a comment, spin me a like and bash that subscribe button. Let's get to today's parish video. Sledmere Valley Pool. Hello folks, this week in the East Riding we're taking on one of the most historically rich settlements in the entire county. Welcome to Sledmere, whose name literally means pool in the valley or valley pool. Sledmere has a crazy number of features which we will cover at length in this episode, and most of them are to be found along a single street that curves in an almost perfect arc around the village's centrepiece. That would be the gorgeous Sledmere House, the iconic mansion built in 1751 which has been associated with the Sykes family since its construction. This is a tourist hotspot, and for good reason. Sledmere's grounds feature lots to attract people to it, and on a summer's day the place can be quite busy. It's a busy place anyway though, lying as it does on a road that connects Driffield and Malton, although you can reach York pretty easily from here too. Sledmere is the site of two interesting memorials, one of which is now a war memorial but started life as a replica Eleanor Cross. The other is for the Wolds Wagoners, a corps which was founded by Sir Mark Sykes, the 6th Baronet. And if all that's not enough, how about the little known Sledmere Castle, located away from the village near one of the surrounding woodlands? It's a lot to try and take in, but we will anyway. Let's go. We begin our journey through Sledmere at what Google Maps lists as the Pomnik. Why it calls it that I don't know. Pomnik is a Polish word and it simply means memorial. And this is a memorial for those lost in World War I, but it wasn't originally. It's a replica Eleanor Cross, and it was erected between 1896 and 1898 as a folly by Sir Tatton Sykes, the 5th Baronet. It was designed by Temple Moore. It was closely modelled on a 13th century Eleanor Cross in Hardingstone, Northamptonshire. It became a war memorial with the addition of several monumental brasses. Bear in mind most of Sledmere's landmarks have some complicated histories. I recommend reading more into them after watching this very video. That's especially true of the church, which is where we find ourselves next. Unsurprisingly, this is on the Sykes Church's trail. Dedicated to St Mary, this was built between 1893 and 1898 for the Sykes family for the astronomical sum of £60,000. It was purposely built close to the Sykes family home. In fact, it's practically next door. It was the grandest to be funded by the family and was one of the last estate churches to be constructed. So I was hoping to get in this one and have a look around inside. It's normally open to visitors. There is a sign though on the door that says that in February and March this year it's closed for some maintenance work. It's now April, but apparently it is also closed as well in April. So never mind, doesn't really matter. Now, from the churchyard you can see Sledmere House. Now I'm not sure, I can see a path just there. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to walk on that. We'll soon find out. Sledmere House is next, if I can. As it turns out, getting to the path was a moot point because there was a locked gate between it and the churchyard. No matter, we can still see Sledmere House, the estate's centrepiece. A Georgian country mansion dating back to 1751, the house has remained in the Sykes family ever since it was erected. The house is set within the huge Sledmere Park, which was designed by Capability Brown. Its first occupant was Richard Sykes, and now it's the home of Sir Tatton, the 8th Baronet. Internally, it contains Chippendale, Sheraton and French furnishings, and many fine pictures. Exiting the churchyard, we next come to the Wagoners Memorial back on the main street. This was designed by Sir Mark Sykes, the 6th Baronet, and it's dedicated to the Wolds Wagoners Reserve, a corps that he himself founded. Sykes received permission to raise the reserve as a territorial army unit in 1912, signing up farm labourers and tenant farmers from across the Yorkshire Wolds for war service. This memorial is noted for its unusual shape and its graphic scenes of war and country life. It was designated a Grade 2 listed building in 1966, but this was upgraded to Grade 1 in 2016. Continuing along the street, we get another good view of Sledmere House next. It's made of Nottinghamshire ashlar, by the way. In front of it we have its stable block, of course never too far away from a house of Sledmere stature. The house is still a family home, which means it's private, but parts of the estate are open to the public. Here we have the main courtyard, which has several tourist attractions. One of them is a little museum that tells the story of the Wagoners Reserve and cares for an actual Wolds wagon. It was built in 1861 and it can be seen in the carriage house. Over the road is the woodyard, which in itself is a reason to visit Sledmere. This has a shop which sells goods ideal for the garden or the home. It has a range of unusual and unique gifts too, including fragrances, jewellery, cards and stationery. It always has something different to catch your eye. All its plants are homegrown because they all originate from Sledmere's very own fabulous walled garden. The woodyard is set within a collection of model farm buildings of the type we've met previously in the Midlands. That's why, if you look carefully, you may spot this clock tower. So can you reach Sledmere by bus? Yes, you can. Once again, the 135 is the service you need. It runs to Driffield. If Sledmere House isn't your cup of tea, you can always come here to sample the delights of the local watering hole instead. This is it, and it's called the Triton Inn. It forms part of the Sledmere estate. It dates back to the 18th century but was completely refurbished during the winter of 2006. It now boasts up-to-date facilities but still retains its original charming character. You can also access the main courtyard from it too if you walk along Gardener's Row next door. Although Sledmere is pretty much all on one road, there are a couple of side streets. Here's one. This is Croom Road, which leads to the hamlet of the same name about 1 mile to the north. Croom is part of the parish, but it's nothing more than just a farm and a few isolated buildings in essence. Now we come to the estate office, from which the day-to-day running of the farm shop, the cafe, the woodyard and the Wagoners Museum and more is managed. Even though visitors have been welcomed by the Sykes family here for over 250 years, Sledmere is still a working estate after all. Now the road starts to dip downhill, and in doing so it passes the old rectory. The late 18th century brick building is unusual because it's one of the very few in Sledmere that isn't owned or managed by the estate. Its grounds also include this long exterior wall, which was being repointed as I passed. At the end of that is a domed structure known as the Well. It's actually another memorial. It was built in 1840 in memory of Sir Christopher Sykes, the 2nd Baronet. This was pictured far more handsomely in a David Hockney painting. It was called The Road to York through Sledmere. Opposite the well are the gate lodges which form the main entrance to Sledmere House. Of course, these are listed buildings. The lodges are late 18th century and were designed by Samuel Wyatt and Sir Christopher Sykes. The gates were added in 1813 by Watson and Pritchett of York. Now here's a fun fact for you. When Sledmere's grounds were landscaped, the whole village had to be rebuilt. As part of that, this road between York and Bridlington had to be diverted. That's why Sledmere sits under an almost perfect arc. The road to Bridlington has a few bits, including this phone box. Bridlington Road also has a village hall, and you'd have thought this would have been of much more note. However, I couldn't find much about it. I do know though, it's used for everything from ballroom dancing to the annual Sledmere pantomime. If you walk up the hill a little further, you'll come to an old fire station. It's known more commonly now as the engine room, and it's been turned into 2 holiday cottages. It closed in 2008, and its redevelopment led to the loss of the village hall's car park. This angered the locals, who argued there were other places for holiday lets around Sledmere instead. Returning to the main road, next we have a school. This dates from between 1874 and 75 and was designed by that man again, G.E. Street, although there are later additions by Temple Moore. Sledmere School is one of the few in this part of Yorkshire, with only nearby Wetwang and Garton possessing others. Much plainer but still handsome is an old Methodist chapel which can be found next door. This dates from 1889 and it was designed by William Petch. There's a satisfying neatness and order in Sledmere. It's a very well kept place, but then you'd expect that, seeing as it's got multi-million-pound owners. And we've reached the other end of the village, which is marked by this lovely green with a tree in the centre, houses around the edge, some nice pink blossom on that tree right there. Now this green is important because it's called Castlegate Green. Emphasis on the word castle because Sledmere has a castle. Now I can't get to it myself because it's private property. However, I have managed to procure some drone footage from a fellow YouTuber. So here comes my piece on Sledmere Castle. This drone footage, courtesy of fellow YouTuber Mickey Moo Productions, shows Sledmere Castle, a folly located to the east of the village that was built in around 1790 by the York architect John Carr. He did so for Sir Christopher Sykes, the 2nd Baronet. The reason it exists is pretty simple. It was merely an eye-catcher designed to be viewed from Sledmere House. It's not actually a castle either, rather it's just designed to look like a castle entrance. As the footage zooms out away from the castle, you can fully appreciate just how beautiful the Yorkshire Wolds are. As the castle faces towards Sledmere House, in the background you can see the likes of Kilham, Burton Agnes and the Yorkshire coast at Bridlington. Isn't the East Riding just a wonderful part of the world? I'll let this play for a while you enjoy the view. Of course, there's way more to Sledmere for the average visitor. Here's a couple more things that may attract you. Sledmere Park, the huge parkland to the south of the house, contains a rare breed survival trust conservation farm park. That's a mouthful, but it's a fantastic place to meet and learn about the preservation of the estate's rare breed farm animals. The park currently has, according to Sledmere House's website, a small flock of Leicester Longwool sheep, a range of rare breed chickens who provide Sledmere House with a constant supply of eggs, 2 Oxford Sandy and Black pigs, and some golden Guernsey goats. Great for the kids, that. Speaking of kids, at the far end of the farm park you can access an adventure play area where you can enjoy a range of woodland play equipment including a zip wire, climbing frames and a basket swing. The Sledmere estate also puts on several events throughout the year. One of these is the Wagoners Challenge, where Royal Logistic Corps regiments from across the country come to Sledmere to take part to see who will become National Wagoners Champions. The Royal Logistic Corps are the soldiers in today's army who have inherited the role of the men from the Wagoners Special Reserve who fought in World War I. The events in the competition tell the story of the Wagoners and their journey from the farms to the front line. The challenges are designed to replicate the training associated with the Wagoners when their unit was preparing for war in 1914. They include long-reining horses, a bale challenge, driving the General Service Wagon, and the all-time classic, tug of war. With heavy horses from the Northern Heavy Horse Society and local horse owners and breeders, the event is a spectacular occasion for all to enjoy. And Sledmere has often hosted musical events and festivals. The most well known is Trifest. Launched in 2007, this provides an eclectic mix of music and comedy across 6 stages, with over 50 top tribute bands covering a wide range of genres and age groups. This festival is often noted as the jewel in the crown as far as Yorkshire music events go, and even won the Contribution to the East Riding Award in 2021. With a capacity of 5,000, Trifest doesn't get overcrowded like a lot of other festivals, so you can always find your friends for a dance. That's a bonus, right? And to get to the castle, what you have to do is you have to follow a track beyond Castlegate Green. You can see the edge of the Castlegate Green there, it's hard to say. Up there, where that tree is, there's a little track off to the left. If you follow that for about a half a mile, you will come to Sledmere Castle. Excuse the noisy lorry. Okay, so from this point, we're going to turn around and head back the other way, back to the car. That has been a lovely walk through the village and the parish of Sledmere. And with that, we bring Sledmere to a close. With a village like this, you know there's way more, but simply fitting it all in is impossible. So in that case, it's down to you. Come for a day out at Sledmere and let me know what you found that I didn't. I'd love to hear your experiences in the comments. For now, it's off to the next one. Thanks for watching this video, folks. Don't forget to like this episode if you haven't already. It really makes a difference with YouTube. If you're new here, subscribe to the channel for more videos like this, and give us a share too if you've got friends who'd like it. You can find all the links to my social media accounts below, as well as my Buy Me a Coffee page where you can donate to the channel. Also, if you've enjoyed this episode, have a look at some more videos in this series. Until next time, I've been Andy, also known as the Village Idiot, and I'm out.